Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into something huge today, a court decision that's going to totally change the game for anyone buying a home with cash in the US. There's this new anti-money laundering rule. It just got the green light, and believe me, it is sending shockwaves through the real estate world. So let's break down what this all means. All right, let's jump right in. The big news that's got everyone talking in the real estate world, it's a final, super decisive court ruling that pretty much settles a massive debate. So here's the deal. A U.S. district court just made a landmark decision. They've upheld a brand new rule from FinCEN, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And this ruling, it basically puts a stop to a huge legal fight and clears the path for some really strict new reporting rules for all cash home sales. Now, you gotta understand, this decision didn't just appear out of thin air. Nope. This was the final move in a really high-stakes chess match, a legal battle between a powerful government agency and a true giant of the real estate industry. And this really lays out the two sides of the coin, right? On one side, you've got FinCEN, the government watchdog, trying to slam the door on criminals laundering dirty money through real estate. But on the other side, you've got Fidelity National Financial, a huge player in title insurance. They're the ones who sued, saying, whoa, this rule is a massive overreach. They claimed it was arbitrary and capricious and would cause irreparable harm to their business. And by that, they mean insane compliance costs and maybe even losing clients who really value their privacy. So, to get why the government is pushing this so hard, you need to know who FinCEN is. Think of them as the Treasury Department's financial detectives. Their whole mission is to stop the financial system from being used for illegal stuff. And that's exactly why they're zooming in on all cash real estate deals. For years, these deals have been a known weak spot, Because when you pay cash, you get to bypass all that deep financial digging that mortgage lenders have to do. Okay, so this brings us to the real core of it, right? What exactly does this new rule demand? What's actually in it that got everybody so fired up and sparked this whole legal showdown? Well, the industry's biggest complaint was just the sheer amount of data they would suddenly have to collect and then hand over. So for every single all-cash sale, what kind of information are we actually talking about here? And wow, just look at this list. It's incredibly detailed. We're talking way beyond just who's the buyer. Now title companies have to report everything. We're talking ID numbers, citizenship status for every single person involved. And yeah, that includes kids, plus all the nitty-gritty details about the payments. And here's the big one. Info on any trusts or companies, LLCs, that are used to buy the property, those are often used to hide who the real owner is, and now they'll be under a microscope. So even with all these new requirements and the industry pushing back hard, the court still sided firmly with FinCEN. So you're probably wondering, how did the legal arguments actually unfold in the courtroom? This timeline kind of gives you the play-by-play. It all kicked off back in May of 25 when Fidelity National Financial, or FNF, filed their lawsuit. Then, fast forward to early December, a magistrate judge looked at it and said, yeah, this rule should stand. FNF, of course, objected to that. But in the end, that objection didn't stick. The final ruling came down in February 2026, and it was a solid win for FinCEN. And this quote right here, it perfectly sums up what the judge was thinking. The ruling really boiled down to two big things. First, the court said the rule was totally legal, that it was authorized by an existing law called the Bank Secrecy Act. That's a super important law from back in 1970 that basically tells financial institutions they have to help the government fight money laundering. And second, the court said FinCEN wasn't just making things up or being arbitrary. Instead, their decision was the result of reasoned decision-making. In other words, the court said, look, the agency did its homework and they absolutely have the authority to do this. Okay, so the legal fight is over. FinCEN won. Now for the big question, the one that really matters. What does this actually mean for you, for home buyers, for sellers, for the whole real estate industry from here on out? Get your calendars out because this is the date you need to know, March 1st, 2026. On that day, these reporting rules stop being just a proposal. They become the law of the land for every title company, coast to coast. And what's kind of interesting is that FinCEN had already delayed this once. The original start date was supposed to be back in December 2025. They said they pushed it back to, and I'm quoting here, reduce business burden and ensure effective regulation, which is really just a formal way of saying they were giving the industry some extra time to get its act together and prepare for these huge new changes. And so all of this leaves us with the million-dollar question, the one that everyone in real estate is thinking about right now.
Is all this new data collection actually going to make the market safer from criminals? Or is it just going to create a giant mountain of paperwork that bogs down perfectly legal everyday home sales? I guess we'll have to wait and see.